All right, let's get started with our week one review. So we have again some very interesting plays, mostly revolving around the kicking game, as most of our interesting plays do. We're going to start with a couple of different examples of action around a punt returner. Okay, so what is KCI? What is not KCI? KCI being kick catch interference. So here's a very unusual play. Not seen one just like this one before. All right, so we have a punt. We back it up to the beginning of the play. You can see we have a punt. Starts off great with a bad snap. We have a punt. All right, so now we have a returner who is coming up to catch the punt. We have a K player who is in his way. He is going to impede his path to the ball. Okay, so this is going to be KCI. As you watch the punt returner, he attempts to come up to get the ball, but then he has to back off because the coverage player, the K player, is in his way. All right. And then the unusual part happens. The ball hits the K player right in the top of the helmet and bounces straight back up in the air. So what we have here, right here, at this point right here, we have kick catch interference because the returner was unable to get to the football to make an attempt to catch the football. His path to the ball was impeded. So we have kick catch interference right there at that spot. That's going to be the 30-yard line. All right. Now, the ball is still in the air. The ball has not touched the ground. This is still a kick in flight. So we still have a kick. So he still has a right to catch it. Now he attempts to catch it again. And now a second K player comes in and catches the ball right in front of him and doesn't allow him to catch the ball. So we have a very unusual circumstance here where we have twice impeded ours ability to catch the kick. So we actually would have two fouls for kick catch interference. Of course, we're only going to enforce one of them. Going to enforce the one from the most advantageous yard line would be the obvious choice. Um, Remember that if they accept this from the spot of the foul, that 15 yards also includes an awarded fair catch. So primarily, that's going to have to do with they get to pick where they want the ball to go between the hashes. And then also in very unusual circumstances, they could elect to do a free kick for a field goal. So be aware of that. All right. So that example here is a kick in flight. Okay. R has an opportunity to catch the kick. They do not have free reign to recover the kick. So if you go to the next one, we're going to see a punt that has hit the ground. Okay. So once that ball hits the ground, all right, now all bets are off for the most part. We're going to talk about what he still can't do. But that ball has hit the ground. All right. So the foul is kick catch interference. It is not kick recovery interference. So he has a right to his path to the ball to catch it, but not necessarily to recover it. Okay. So this ball's hit the ground. So now we do get an impeded path to the ball. We even have some contact here. This is not a foul. All right. In the process of doing all this, R has now touched the football. So now they have broken the continuancy of downs by muffing the kick. So whoever recovers this ball, it's going to be 1st and 10 for them. R can still recover it in advance. K cannot advance it. They can recover it and they'll get to keep it, but they can't advance it. So we're going to get a recovery by K there around the 30, 31-yard line. It's going to be their ball on the next snap. Okay, this was correctly officiated. Very good. One comment here, though, is just because KCI is off the table when the ball hits the ground, targeting is not. Okay, so this returner, he's lost his fair catch privileges, he's lost his KCI possibility, but he is still a defenseless player. So if you read your defenseless player designations, it is a kick returner who is attempting to catch or recover. So in the air or off the ground. So yeah, you can contact him here, but you cannot hit him above the shoulders with any kind of forcible contact. We can't be taking a cheap shot at him. So no foul here, okay? But we still have to be aware of the forcible contact above the shoulders, taking just a big cheap shot at him because he is a defenseless player, even though the ball's hit the ground. All right, still looking at the kicking game. You never know what's going to happen. All right, so we are kicking a field goal here. This is not a try. This is a field goal, fourth down from the 7-yard line. And the kick is going to be blocked. So that touching is ignored because it's in or behind the expanded neutral zone. So the ball is now rolling around. Okay, it is behind the original neutral zone, the original line of scrimmage. When the kicking team recovers it, they're now at the 10-yard line. That's behind the 7. So he can advance this kick. And he does so and into the end zone for a touchdown. Perfectly legal play. Okay? Blocked. It's behind the neutral zone. If K recovers the ball behind the neutral zone, they can advance it. Of course, R can advance this kick at any time, anywhere. If this ball had happened to have went beyond the line of scrimmage, let's say the 6, the 5, the 4-yard line, and K recovered it, it would be dead right there. Okay, and it would belong to R because the original touching by R in this case is ignored because it was entered behind the expanded neutral zone. All right, I'm going to just be picky here for a second. Just great job by this crew for not blowing a whistle and continuing to officiate. Just be careful. We get in a habit on these field goals of coming in. All right, just make sure they had that kick is headed to the goalpost before we come in, because we don't want to get caught out on the field in the middle of this scrum for the ball. Okay, so just be patient. You have to be a little more patient on a field goal than you do a try. As we know about tries in high school, as soon as he kicks that ball, we're not, whether he blocks it or not, we're not going to have a return or an advance by anybody on a try. On a field goal, that's always a possibility. So be a little more patient on a field goal play. But this is a great job by this crew. We didn't have any whistles. We let it play out. Touchdown scored. Good job. All right, here's another kicking play that actually turns out not to be a kicking play. So we see this a lot usually on a try. This water bucket or whatever you want to call it formation. All right, so the first thing we need to note is that this is not a kicking formation. Even though they lined up like this on a try, and we may be anticipating them kicking the ball, and they may shift into a kicking formation, this is not a kicking formation. So we need to be in our regular coverage position. So not two people under the goalpost here, because this is not going to be a kick yet. Now, if he shifts, one of these guys goes down like a holder, the other one backs up like a kicker, then we have to shift ourselves to the goalpost. But right now, we need to be in our regular alignment. Okay, the next thing we need to make very, very close attention to is we need to notice, do we have 5 linemen over here in the game numbered 50 through 79? The referee needs to check that. The umpire needs to come over here and check that. That matters a lot. If they still have their 5 linemen numbered 50 to 79 in the game, then they are not using the numbering exception, which means if this snapper is the end man on the line and has an eligible number, then he's an eligible receiver. If they do not have 5 linemen in the game numbered 50 to 79, then this player, the snapper, is now in the game using the numbering exception, which automatically makes him an ineligible receiver. So that is information that we need to know. So that's quick gathered information, because they will probably snap this in a hurry. So as soon as you see them get in that odd formation, swinging gate, whatever we're calling it, okay, we need to be checking those numbers of those linemen. If they got their 550 to 79s, then he's an eligible receiver. So here we go. They're going to snap it. He goes downfield. We get a forward pass, okay? All right, we get a forward pass that is beyond the line of scrimmage. Yeah, beyond the line of scrimmage. So at that point, we have to know whether or not that snapper was eligible, okay? Because he may be down. If he's ineligible, then he's downfield illegally right there. All right. The other thing is, back to what we were saying about how we should stay in our regular formation, is we need some goal line judgment over here on this play. We need to judge. We've got to be able to judge whether that pass is beyond the line of scrimmage or not. We got to be able to judge touchdown. Okay. or the fumble or the recovery of the fumble or everything else that looks like it may have happened right there. Okay. So there's a lot going on. Did he catch it? Did he not catch it? Did he score? Did he not score? Who got the ball? It's a lot going on. All right. Not a kicking play, but illegal block below the waist. Let's talk about this for just a second. We saw several of these this weekend, and we need to make sure we get a flag on these plays. So remember that the rules for blocking below the waist are the same for both teams. So the blocker had to have been on the line of scrimmage at the snap, had to be in the side the free blocking zone at the snap. Their opponent had to be in the free blocking zone and on the line of scrimmage at the snap. For a defensive player, that's considered 1 yard from the line of scrimmage to be considered on the line of scrimmage. Inside the free blocking zone, on the line of scrimmage, both players, both the blocker and their opponent, and that low block below the waist has to be part of or their initial charge. In other words, it has to be their initial movement, initial attempt to block. Their head cannot come up and then go back down. Okay. So here's an example of a defensive player blocking illegally below the waist. Watch number 0 right there. That. Okay. So that's an illegal block below the waist by the defense. Okay. It's a fairly common tactic to take out lead blockers and pulling guards. All right. And we need to be very aware of it. We need to make sure we get a flag on it. Safety issue. So we need to get those. But the teaching point here is to remember that the rules about illegal block below the waist and the free blocking zone and being on the line of scrimmage is the same rule for both offense and defense. All right. That does it for week 1. If you have any questions, let me know, and best of luck in week 2.